for DeAndre Hopkins Wednesday, sending a 5th-round pick that could become a 4th-round draft pick to the Tennessee Titans, who will also pay Hopkins another $2.5 million as part of the deal. Reportedly, that is the 3rd prominent receiver to change teams in the span of 8 days. And for more on DeAndre Hopkins and the rest of the day's news from the NFL, we say hello to CBS Sports NFL writers John Breech and Tyler Sullivan. John, I'm going to start with you. Tyler, feel free to jump in afterwards. What are the Chiefs hoping to get out of Hopkins, and how much can he account for what they've already lost at that position, which is a lot?
Russ, I think they're just looking to get more than what they have right now, which is not much. It is Travis Kelce and then nothing. I mean, you look at this roster. Rashee Rice, who has not played a single down in October and is out for the season, is the team's leading receiver. So that is how dire the situation is in Kansas City. We've seen how Patrick Mahomes has been playing. You can put some of this on his struggles. He hasn't played great this year, but he also doesn't have the receiving core that he's had in the past. This is probably the worst group he's had in his career. He's just trying to survive out there, and so far he's doing a good job because they're 6-0. So what you do is you bring in a veteran like DeAndre Hopkins. Is this DeAndre Hopkins from 2018 or 2019 or 2020? It is not. But this isn't DeAndre Hopkins who put up 1,000 yards last season with the Tennessee Titans. So he does still have a little bit left in the tank. And let me tell you, Patrick Mahomes is probably licking his chops at whatever is left in that tank because he does need some help in the passing department. And I think Hopkins can give them some.
You know, it's pretty remarkable that we're talking about a 6-0 Kansas City Chiefs team that has a quarterback in Patrick Mahomes that has more interceptions than touchdowns, which what we're saying here is Patrick Mahomes hasn't been Patrick Mahomes yet, and this team is still undefeated. So now that we have DeAndre Hopkins in Kansas City, we're probably at some point going to get Patrick Mahomes back at his apex. And if all of a sudden we're matching what they are doing on defense compared to what Patrick Mahomes is and what his ceiling can be, it is the sky's the limit for this team. I mean, we're obviously talking about a back-to-back defending Super Bowl champion. Their goal, and they're not shying away from it, is to do that elusive three-peat that's never happened in the NFL. And this trade is just another example of how they're going all in to try to fix these issues. Yes, they've been bitten by the injury bug with Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown going down, even Isaiah Pacheco in the backfield. But bringing in DeAndre Hopkins to me is just one of those moves that reminds me of my Patriots, where they bring in that wildly old veteran that is maybe past his prime a little bit. You pair him with Tom Brady, in this case Patrick Mahomes. He somehow rekindles his magic, and they're off to the races. I think this is a fantastic move for Kansas City.
Yeah, this whole situation seems to be exemplifying the greatness of the Chiefs, winning like they are without much to show for it or even playing that well, but they just win games. Hey, Cooper Kupp hasn't been playing since week 2 when he sprained his ankle, but he looks like he's just about back on track to play with the Rams. The question is he going to be with the Rams when they play on Thursday night or shortly thereafter? He's one of the big names coming up in, with the trade deadline looming, and so is his quarterback, Matthew Stafford, right now with the Rams as well. So I go back to you guys on this, and John, I'm going to start with you. The Rams are 2-4. It's not only Cooper Kupp, as I mentioned, it's Matthew Stafford. How close are the Rams to blowing this whole thing up right now?
Well, I don't know why. Somebody needs to talk them off the ledge. They don't need to blow anything up right this second. They are 2-4. Look at the NFC West standings. They're a game and a half out of first place. They play the Seahawks in Week 9. Obviously, the big Thursday night game against the Vikings. If you win that game, you have Cooper Kupp back on the field. You're right back in this race. And then you have Seattle looming in Week 9. They're currently in first place in the NFC West. You beat them, and then you might be in first place within 2 weeks. And I think that one huge advantage here for the Rams is that Seahawks game comes on November 3rd, which is 2 days before the trade deadline. So let's say you lose on Thursday to Minnesota, you lose the following week to Seattle. Now you kind of hit the TNT button and blow everything up. That makes sense. That's where you start calling around. So, but I don't think you need to do it before then because you are very much still alive in this division race, which puts you very much alive in the playoff race. So if I'm the Rams, I'm taking phone calls, maybe gauging who's interested right now, but I don't think I'm actually making any trades until November 4th, until roughly about 48 hours before that trade deadline.
I totally would co-sign with that, Breech. I don't think there's any real rush to do it right now. I don't know what the emphasis would be from the Kansas City side because, as you point out, they're at an inflection point here. If all of a sudden they come out on Thursday and take down the Minnesota Vikings, who we all view right now as one of the best teams in the NFC, obviously lost that game against Detroit, but still a remarkable start to this season. If all of a sudden they're showing they're going toe-to-toe, they have Cooper Kupp back, they just opened up the practice window for Puka Nacua, and things are starting to move in a positive direction. As you know, coming off that mini-bye divisional matchup with the Seattle Seahawks, if all of a sudden you're beating division opponents, you're beating top-tier teams in the NFC, I don't know why you would throw away the season. And now saying that, if you do lose, you do got to kind of look at what you have and what you don't and what you think could probably you move off from. I think Cooper Kupp is certainly someone who is getting a little bit older, has an injury history. You're owing him a decent amount of money over the next couple of years. So maybe there's the case to be made there, but I wouldn't do it until we see what they look like over these next 2 weeks.
All right, look, getting Cooper Kupp back is big for the Rams, maybe not as big as the Dolphins possibly getting Tua Tagovailoa. He returned to practice on Wednesday, more than a month after his third documented concussion in 2 years, with the intent on playing this weekend against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, with that in mind, Tyreek Hill had a message for those fantasy owners who have him on their team.
We're back, baby. Strike up the man. We're back, baby. Start me this week, baby. Let's go.
All right, Tyreek Hill's fired up. Tua looks like he feels ready to go. If he passes the protocols, I can't help but hope that Tua isn't coming back too soon from a head injury, but maybe that's just me. Barring injury, John, how quickly should we expect the Dolphins offense to be up and humming again?
Well, let me just say, thank goodness they're back because I went pretty Dolphins heavy on my fantasy team, so I don't have many more margin for error left. But I do agree with Tyreek Hill here. I think they can absolutely turn this around starting this Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. You look at kind of what happened in 2022 when Tua suffered that concussion in midseason, also came back. They ran off 5 straight wins, starting with his first week back. They didn't miss a beat. He threw for 300 yards. 2 times in that 5-game stretch. And look, Tua was there for training camp. We saw him out there in week 1. And you know what happened with week 1? The last time Tua was on the field for all 4 quarters? Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill combined for 239 yards. And then you look at the past 4 games with no Tua, those 2 have combined for 254 yards. So that 1 game almost matched their total for the 4 games without Tua. That tells you how important Tua is to this offense. He knows the offense inside and out, so there's no reason this team can't go on a run. I think Tyreek Hill wouldn't say this unless he was confident it was going to happen. So I would not be surprised if we see the Dolphins put up some huge numbers on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, as a Devon Achane fantasy owner, I am very excited for all of this. So I can jive with you on the Tyreek Hill side of things, and I can understand why he's so excited. You look at the quarterback play the Miami Dolphins have been dealt with over the last few weeks without Tua Tagovailoa. It's just been god-awful, specifically trying to throw the football deep, and you see it here. 0 for 15 on passes that are 20 or more air yards over the last 5 games. Tyreek Hill 0 for 6. It's just... if you're him, you're screaming for someone who can even remotely throw you the football down the field. And just for reference, they're the only team in the NFL who doesn't have a completion of that magnitude. So if you're Tyreek Hill, again, you are just so happy to see Tua Tagovailoa, honestly, just a capable quarterback here, which is probably a bigger conversation about the Miami Dolphins and why they didn't have a capable quarterback behind Tua Tagovailoa, given his history. But overall, as long as he's back under center and healthy, this is a good thing for the Miami Dolphins offense.
Nowhere to go but up at QB for the Dolphins the way it's looked the last few weeks. Jameis Winston, he was the emergency quarterback for the Browns in Week 7. Now Cleveland, they've broken that glass because they have an emergency. Watson's their QB1. Winston's their QB1 after Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles. He's out for the season. Browns also have a new play caller with head coach Kevin Stefanski ceding those duties to offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. All right, what is a reasonable expectation as the Browns come into town, considered one of the best teams in the NFL? Usually the Ravens come into town, one of the best teams in the NFL. The Browns somewhere probably on the other end of the spectrum when it comes to teams in the NFL. What's a reasonable expectation for this collab between Dorsey and Jameis Winston? Tyler, start us up here.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be interesting. Now, I don't think that this is going to completely turn things around. I don't know if this is going to be like Joe Flacco 2.0 down the stretch, but I think it's going to be better than what it has been with Deshaun Watson under center. I mean, honestly, there's really not much room to go but up here. And so with Jameis Winston, he does bring a little bit of that Joe Flacco chuck it deep type of offense, but he also has the capabilities of turning the ball over too, as we've seen throughout his career. But for me, there's a couple of things here. I think the Browns, first and foremost, need to keep him upright. They're allowing 35 sacks on the quarterback this season, the most in the NFL. I don't care if it's Tom Brady back there. You need to be able to protect the quarterback, or they're not going to be able to do too much. And the other thing here, too, is that's something that's sneaky about the Cleveland Browns offense. They're actually really good in the red zone, number 2 in the NFL in touchdown efficiency. The only team that's better is the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. The only problem, they can't get to the red zone. They're dead last in the NFL on third down. So if Jameis Winston can just get them into the red area, the pieces are already in place for this to be a good scoring offense in the NFL. It's just a matter of getting them in those spots.
I love that Kevin Stefanski benched himself as far as play calling, went to Ken Dorsey and said, you know what, go wild with Jameis Winston, and we just need some sort of spark here. And you know what? You look at the way Jameis Winston has played throughout his career. His gunslinging mentality works best when he has nothing to lose. And let me tell you, when you're playing quarterback for a 1-16, there's nothing to lose. You just go out there, you sling the ball, you hope you play well. Maybe you throw 5 interceptions. Maybe you throw 5 touchdowns. I think the people of Cleveland will just be thrilled to see Jameis out in the field just to see what he can do. And he gets to go up against a Ravens defense that has given up the most passing yards per game this season. So obviously we know about the numbers, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, but that defense has struggled to stop the pass. So Jameis Winston could absolutely have a big game. And you look at what's happened in Cleveland this year. They have not had a quarterback throw for over 200 yards. Deshaun Watson didn't do that through the first 7 weeks. They haven't scored 20 points in a single game. They're the only team in the NFL that has not scored 20 points in a single game. I absolutely think we could see Jameis Winston reach both of those benchmarks. And if that happens, you start asking yourself, why can Jameis Winston run this offense? Why could Joe Flacco run this offense? Why couldn't Deshaun Watson? So this could kind of open the door to kind of move on from Deshaun Watson if Jameis Winston plays well over the next few weeks. So it'll be interesting to see what he does on the field.
30-year-old veteran Jameis Winston. Who would have thunk it all these years later? That's CBS Sports NFL writers John Breech and Tyler Sullivan. Gentlemen, thank you so much for the knowledge. And this Sunday on CBS, you can watch the Browns as they take on Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. The 1 o'clock slate also features a showdown between the Eagles and Bengals, each looking for a 3rd straight win. At 4:25, the Commanders hope it will be a battle of the top 2 picks. They host Caleb Williams and the Bears. Jaden Daniels did not practice on Wednesday because of a rib injury. Marcus Mariota will go if Daniels can.